Greetings, everyone, and welcome to episode number 15 of the Pan Future Society podcast. I am your host, Sean, and today is Saturday, September 3rd, 2016. It is a chilly, foggy day in the Pacific Northwest, which is pretty much paradise for me. Had some hot weather the last couple of weeks, and thanks again for sticking with me, even though I was off last week for some family stuff. Boy, take a week off and all kinds of stuff happens. Science is sometimes a slow process, but boy, there's so much of it going on. Every time you turn around, there's tons of news, and a whole lot of stuff over the past couple of weeks. Juno has sent back its first images of Jupiter, which are quite fascinating. They show the poles, and the poles exhibit some cloud behavior that scientists did not expect. Also, a slight setback for SpaceX. One of its Falcon 9 rockets exploded during a firing test. Fortunately, no one was hurt or killed by this accident, but it did destroy a satellite that was being funded by Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg to bring more widespread internet access to Africa, I believe was what that satellite was for. $200 million satellite. I don't know how that space stuff works. Do they have insurance for that kind of stuff? I hope so. Sometimes I start the show with a bit of a rant or an opinion piece, you might say, on society and civilization or whatnot, politics. This week it's something a little different. If you are familiar with the Oatmeal online comics by Matthew Inman, he published one this week entitled How to Be Perfectly Unhappy. And this comic is certainly worth reading. I will link to it in the notes. And as far as it applies to our show, one of the things that I need to bring up from time to time is society and civilization. And we talk a lot about the technology and all this fabulous stuff that might happen in the future. But to get there, we have to survive. And in this comic strip, Inman describes how he is not a happy person, but that doesn't mean that he's unhappy. And I'll let you read it for yourself. Definitely go do that. But one of the main conclusions is it's about being engaged and interested and busy and fulfilled with the things that you are doing. Some people would say, happiness is not just a destination that you stay with forever. It's all about the journey. But what does that really mean? Inman makes a rather funny joke that without destinations, you're not Frodo taking the ring to Mordor. You're just a homeless guy wandering around with stolen jewelry. So the destination matters, the journey matters, what you are actually doing matters. In my own life, I have come to believe that happiness is not really a good description for anything. Joy and pleasure and triumph, accomplishment, the feeling of having finished something, that is really important to me. I am quite driven by the need to finish things, which is slightly offset by my natural procrastination and laziness. But as we think about how we interact with each other in the world, maybe happiness is not the right word to use, and maybe we'd be better off if we all focused more on the process of the things that we're doing and what we get out of it. Do we feel like we are useful beings in doing those things? That's what I got out of it. Maybe you'll get something entirely different. So go head over there to theoatmeal.com and read that comic strip, and I'll have a link to that in the notes. Now on to your news of the moment. All right, I've got a couple of things for you this week in the news. Chemists accidentally created a battery that could last a lifetime. Now, here is some material science worth paying attention to. Most batteries we use in our devices today are lithium-ion batteries. And as of right now, commercially available, it's the best battery technology we have. It carries a lot of charge for its size, but the biggest downside of it is every time it's drained and recharged, the lithium inside corrodes a little bit and breaks down, and eventually that battery becomes unusable. It will not hold a charge anymore. So, at the University of California, Irvine, a team led by doctoral candidate Maya Lee Tai tested using nanowires as the material in the battery. Nanowires are delicate wires. They're good for batteries in the way that they are highly conductive and have a large surface area that can facilitate the movement and storage of electrons. However, they are very fragile. So this team came upon an idea of coating gold nanowires with manganese dioxide shell and suspending it in an electrolyte plexiglass-like gel. This new setup keeps the properties of nanowires in place without fracturing the wires through use. So by treating the wires this way, they tested an electrode by charging and discharging it nearly 200,000 times over a 3-month period. And Tai found this to be very resilient, and none of the nanowires fractured during that time. So that is absolutely fabulous information about battery technology there. The next step will be the challenge of these kind of material sciences will be to scale this up and make it a commercial process. But this is imagine having a cell phone battery that basically lasts your entire life. 200,000. How long would it take to discharge and recharge your phone 200,000 times over the normal use of a phone? That's pretty fascinating. So keep an eye out on UCI doctoral candidate Maya Lee Tai and her team over there making new battery stuff. Now on to another news item this week, this one more in the realm of possibly science fiction. The EmDrive, the electromagnetic drive that has been proposed by a scientist, NASA engineer Paul March, is one of the people involved in this. This EmDrive has come in and out of the news for maybe the last year or so. It's interesting because if it works, it would be really fast. You could send things to Pluto in under 2 years as opposed to the 9 to 12 year time frame that we have now. However, the EmDrive is not supposed to work according to current laws of physics, particularly the conservation of momentum. The EmDrive, in a nutshell, uses ambient microwave energy, and a vehicle using this kind of a drive would just kind of use the vacuum of space to accelerate. There wouldn't be a propellant to carry around with you. That would also save space and weight on a craft, and it would mean it would just be a lot easier to fly around in space. Well, people have dismissed this idea, brought it back, done some more math on it, brought it back again. The whole thing is very interesting that doesn't seem like it's supposed to work, but it keeps coming back, and now there may be a peer-reviewed paper coming on this EmDrive. Paul March works for something called the EagleWorks Lab, and they have not been shut down. It's an experimental lab at the Johnson Space Center, and there was an announcement that a peer-reviewed paper is coming in the Journal of Propulsion and Power about an electromagnetic drive. Now, it has not been confirmed that it is about the actual EmDrive being researched. However, some people have said that it was, or is assuming that it is. So the journal does not discuss any papers before they're published, so we don't know for sure if it is this drive, but the rumors are all there pointing to it, that it would be the EmDrive, or at least some sort of electromagnetic drive. And it is possible that the publishing of this paper, the conclusion of the paper, and the peer review means that this thing, really doesn't work. That's probably the more likely scenario, but it may slight chance that shows that it works, or it may just point us in a direction to keep researching. So keep your eyes out for the Journal of Propulsion and Power coming in December, Christmas time. So keep your eyes open for news around the end of the year to see if this EmDrive thing has been finally put to bed or not. And that was your news of the moment. All right, your main section this week on the show is a continuation of my series on artificial intelligence. This week, exploring some of the elements of AI and the terminology behind it so we can understand what these computer programmers are talking about. Artificial intelligence is complicated. Getting it right must be at least as hard as understanding the human brain, something we are far from complete on now. As I continue this series on AI, I found myself falling down a deep rabbit hole of terminology, and on this episode, I want to try to outline a few of the core ideas behind AI programming. If you're listening and you're young, have kids of your own, or are thinking of a career change, programming would be a great suggestion. I see no reason to think AI won't be everywhere in our lives, and we'll need to understand it better than we do now. As Carl Sagan said many years ago, we live in a world run by technology few understand. That problem may only get worse without more education in computer programming. I'm no dummy. I can handle some technical work. I can even code websites to some degree. But as I examine these topics, like convolutional deep networks and deep belief networks, I felt overwhelmed. I have a better layman's understanding of high-energy particle physics than I do of AI programming. I'm going to cover a few core ideas, hopefully to help us all better grasp what AI is and how it differs from conventional computers. Machine learning. Machine learning lies at the heart of artificial intelligence. Machine intelligence stemmed from the study of pattern recognition and learning theory in AI. In 1959, Arthur Samuel defined machine learning as, quote, a field of study that gives computers the ability to learn without being explicitly programmed, end quote. Machine learning uses algorithms to learn and make predictions like the human brain does. If you are at an intersection in your car waiting for a green light, your brain has constructed a model to predict what will happen when the light changes. Cars going the other direction will stop and you can go. If they don't stop, your brain must adjust on the fly or you'll get into an accident. A computer programmed in a traditional linear way might always get in an accident or need much more complex programming to avoid the accident. A system capable of machine learning would be able to handle the situation more like we do, or like we should. Some simple examples of machine learning in your day-to-day life are spam filtering, text recognition, and search engines. These systems learn over time, and hopefully, while they are learning, they learn to perform their tasks better. Artificial neural networks. Artificial neural networks are a core idea behind AI programming. In trying again to find a simple definition of neural networks, I found, quote, a computing system made up of a number of simple, highly interconnected processing elements which process information by their dynamic state response to external inputs, end quote, from Dr. Robert Hecht Nielsen, inventor of one of the first neural computers. I think another way to describe it, if Dr. Hecht Nielsen didn't quite make it clear enough, is as a programming language involving layers, ultimately meant to mimic the way our brains work. An artificial neural network may have hundreds or thousands of processor units that interconnect, while the human brain has billions of neurons. But what the machine lacks in numbers, it makes up for in speed. About 1,000 years ago, I learned some basic programming, basic as in the basic computer language. Each step led to another and another in a very linear fashion. If something interrupted this linear direction, the program failed. By using layers in a neural network, programs become more flexible and adaptable. Conventional computers are sequential and serial, artificial neural networks are not. The ANN doesn't execute programmed instructions, it responds to input much the way a living thing does. ANNs are very good at capturing associations, pattern recognition, and handling large numbers of variables. One difficulty in programming artificial neural networks is that they have to be trained, much like people do, and sometimes you can't really know what's going on in the machine. You can only wait for output to see if you get what you expected. Deep learning. Deep learning is another term I've seen a lot, and it's sort of a buzzword at the moment. It's a branch of machine learning, and some consider deep learning and deep neural networks as a rebranding of artificial neural networks. Others consider it an evolution, calling ANNs shallow in comparison to deep networks. However it is defined, it's machine learning based on algorithms that are meant to model higher-level abstract processes. Some deep learning ideas are inspired by recent advances in neuroscience on the human brain and the growing understanding of our own brains. Deep learning can also offer the machine an opportunity for unsupervised learning. Falling down the deep learning rabbit hole, one finds many complex branches on this topic. I'll link to a video presentation from Stanford called Deep Learning for Dummies. It's over an hour long, and I think it's still very complicated, but you might want to watch it anyway. Those are just a couple of the broad umbrella terms that artificial intelligence is being developed under. The machine learning page at Wikipedia offers an enormous list of terms and branches of research, and as I said before, if you want a career that will exist for a long time, this might be it. I am trying my best at least to understand artificial intelligence on its surface so I can better adapt to it as it enters my life. I hope I've been able to open a small window on a huge world for you as well. And that is your show for this week. Thank you once again for joining me on the Pan Future Society podcast. You can come find us online at panfuture.org. Email me at Sean, SEAN, at panfuture.org. And you can find us on Facebook and Twitter. If you want to help out the show, there's a donate button on the website. You can write us a review on iTunes. Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio. You're probably your favorite source of whatever, or download it directly from the website. And yes, thank you, and I will talk to you again in the future.